Hey, I'm Nick Williams with Medicare Millionaire, and I am interviewing an agent that is experiencing great success. And we're going to talk to that agent, Joey Turner, and we're going to talk to him about what his methods are to be successful, what tools he's using, sales skills. We're just going to discuss sales in general, and so that perhaps if you're watching, you can pick up a little bit of what Joey's doing because he is a success. Joey, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, Nick. Happy to be here.
Good, good, good. And tell us, tell us where you are. You're in the Lone Star State, right?
Yeah, I'm in Texas, very close to Houston.
Very close to Houston. Now, is that a large Spanish-speaking community there?
We do have a very significant Spanish-speaking community. In Houston, the Spanish community is actually the majority.
Okay, right. I think San Antonio has a similar demographic. Is that correct?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So, do you speak Spanish?
No, I don't.
So, but you have no problem. There's plenty of people that are bilingual or speak English.
Right.
Yeah. So, let's talk about your career a little bit. But I want to get into the sales stuff.
Okay.
But how long have you been selling insurance?
So I was licensed in May of 2019, and I went full time at the end of January last year, 2020.
At the end of January. Okay, so you basically a year and a couple months.
Yeah.
And now you utilize some telemarketing, I know. Uh, and what else do you do to generate leads?
Well, when I was part-time, I tried the cold calling approach by myself, also working a full-time job, and I found that I couldn't dedicate enough time to it to make it successful. And when I decided to go full-time, I spent well over a year doing direct mail face-to-face leads,
Uh-huh.
during probably the worst year you could ever do that in 2020. And I just recently went with the appointment setter and started doing more of the telemarketing side of things.
And we'll disclose for everybody that you do utilize a service of ours, but we certainly aren't here to promote that service. But it's nice to know that as a you do utilize that offshore telemarketing service, and we do happen to provide that, and that has provided you with a successful vehicle to generate leads. We have a Facebook group that you're in, and while I'm not in there all the time, Tim is in there more than me. I've seen the numbers that you're posting from time to time, or at least at some point in time, and you've done a great job. Ballparkish, how many leads? Okay, but let me first qualify this. So you do the telemarketing leads, the offshore telemarketers. Where
Mhm.
else do you generate leads?
Right now, that's it. That's
Okay,
all I'm doing right this minute.
and ballparkish, how many sales per? And I want to qualify this. They everybody wants to be a superstar, right? Right, Joey? But
Yeah,
at the end of
of
the
course.
day, you have to build a business, and you have to have structure, and you have to incrementally build your business so that you manage it, control it. So I don't. I'm not really into this person's a superstar and they're doing 100 deals a month or whatever, because that's pie in the sky stuff. So lightning strikes from time to time, and that's great, but that's not normal. And I do want to share that with people. You build your business, and that's what I see you doing. But tell us about your success at this point, Joey.
Well, sure. So, first of all, let me go over just kind of how it was when I did direct mail so we can compare it to how I do things now.
Yes.
So, and I'm all about numbers too, believe me. So last year, roughly, I had, let's see, 21. Okay, so last year I worked roughly around 500 direct mail pieces. Now, of course, you send out way more than that, but that's what I had to work with.
Mm-hmm.
I probably got 1 in 4 for
Mm-hmm.
appointments, and I'm a pretty good closer, so I close probably 40 to 50% of those. Now, in contrast, that looks like about 130 apps. In contrast to that, this year, using an appointment setter, I'm already at 56 apps. So I'm looking like I'm going to do more than double that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So were you doing Medicare last year strictly?
Strictly. Yes.
This year, I noticed you are doing other sales, correct?
Yeah, I do a little bit of everything now.
Yeah. We have, we do, I promote the four product progression. I actually have that on a whiteboard. It has nothing to do with our meeting. I just was doing training previously. But the four product progression, and that would be Medicare, final expense, indemnity, and annuity. What is your process?
Same process, maybe not in that order, but the same
Mm-hmm.
four products. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And what do you see? Like, can you tell us a little bit more about the mix, so to speak?
Sure. So I find with Medicare Advantage, usually 1 in 4 will buy the indemnity.
Mm-hmm.
Life and annuities, that's kind of hard because I just got those products.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you people are buying life, and I do have some annuity prospects already.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that annuity, let me ask you, how are you transitioning to get the annuity sale?
Well, if you're doing your job right, you're already asking most of the questions you
Mm-hmm.
need because why would you not see if the person qualifies for extra help and things like that?
Yeah.
So, I like to work the T65 market, and
Mm-hmm.
I consider the whole thing retirement planning, the Medicare benefits and the annuity sale and the life insurance. So all
People
we're
are at a
really doing is
transitional
helping them with
period
their
in their
retirement planning.
life.
Right. Exactly.
So they're open for change, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah, so that's it's not as difficult. Hey, let me ask you something, Joey. Everybody says, "Oh, that market's just jammed up." I mean, what is your experience there? When I say jammed up, you know what I'm saying? It's like everybody's attacking those people. I say the same thing because it's true. How do you cut through the noise?
You just keep calling people, Nick. I mean,
Mhm,
honestly, that's all it is. Yes, the market is flooded, but there'll never be enough agents,
mhm,
especially with some things that we're seeing coming. There'll never be enough agents. So it's really
mhm.
just about finding the people who still need help. Because well,
And
we don't need 1,000 apps a month. We just need to make a good living and build our business.
and the that's what I was saying before is you build something and then you take it to another level when you've established that level.
Right.
And then you can take it to another level. Again, I think it's counterproductive at times. And we're interviewing you, but I can't help but to interject these things. I think it's counterproductive when people feel like they've got to whip the world, and then just to do okay is a failure.
Yeah.
So I would rather establish a good sound foundation, and that's what you're doing, and more than that, because at the pace you're going with the Medicare sales, you're going to have six-figure renewals in just a couple years. Would you agree with that?
I would, yeah, or sooner. I mean,
Yeah.
right now I've got more work than I can handle, so it can only get better.
I just love hearing this, man. It's really good, and so. Let me ask you some questions about your work,
Okay,
your process, and really your work ethic. Would
sure.
what do you see? What are you putting into this from the standpoint of? Let's go with calls. How many calls are you making in a day? Okay, let's take one individual. How
Okay.
how do you track that one individual? You get a lead, and tell me about your aggressiveness to get that person sold.
Sure. So when I get a lead, they're expecting a call within 24 hours. I
Mm-hmm.
call them as soon as I get the lead, unless I'm in an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't get them then, I will call them around the time they were expecting me to call the next day. And then if I don't get them then, it's a matter of trying every opportunity. I don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily do the 3, 4, 5 times a day. I'm thinking about it more as a morning attempt, afternoon attempt, evening attempt, weekend attempt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to hit them because I don't know their schedule. They might be a night shift nurse. Who knows what they do?
Mm-hmm. Now you have a good positive uh, presence. And that's a big deal. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do think it matters, especially the tonality of your voice and things like that. People, they can't see you, and your first impression is everything. So you need to be warm. You need to be, optimistic when you speak with them. If you're jaded, you're certainly not going to do very well.
When you have, I mean, you have those days where nothing goes right.
Yeah, sure.
What's
Yeah.
the next call like? So, okay, three people say that you sound stupid. When the fourth call, now what? Tell me about that call. What's your mindset? Is it, are you starting all over? You have the same attitude as the first call? Were you beaten down a little bit? Tell me about that call after a little bit of rejection throughout the day.
Well, maybe I have an advantage over other people because my previous career, I dealt with correctional facilities. I was a supervisor. So I'm used to working with people with very high negative emotions.
Yes.
And if you let your feelings get involved, especially in that setting, you're probably going to get hurt. So no matter how I feel, when that person answers the phone, I'm the same friendly person I was in the last call. I'm always the nicest person on the phone. And that's
Yes.
how you have to be.
It's so critical. It's so
Yes.
critical. Are you familiar with the terminology called reluctance?
Yes, I am.
Yes. And that is the fear just to make the phone call. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's a real thing. I think everybody experiences it. It's just something you have to overcome.
yes. And it's the fear of rejection. It would, at its base, it's the fear that somebody's going to say no to you, that you'll be rejected, that you won't be successful, that you'll be a failure, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's a big jump from corrections to insurance sales. Okay, it's a jump. It's a different because I won't say it's big because where you were was a big challenge, but
True.
it's a big shift, shall we say? How did you do that? What was that all about?
Well, it was just a matter of having the opportunity to come in. Um, I had worked corrections for 7 years and never made enough money, so I always had a part-time sales job.
Okay.
And Medicare sales just kind of fell into my lap, and I jumped on it.
Mm-hmm. The renewals. I mean, goodness.
Oh yeah, I would never make this much money. I could be a deputy director and not make as much money as I will within 5 years doing this.
Yes. So you got this person, you've tracked them down, you
Mhm.
get on the phone, you have an upbeat, as you said, your tonality is good. You're
Right.
positive, you're helpful, and you have a good presence. Now you got to go through your presentation. Tell me
Mhm.
about that a little bit without not word for word, obviously, but what is your sequence kind of sort of in your thought process to move them to the close, not the close, but how to get them there?
Well,
Uh,
sure. So I don't intend to sell on the first call. My first call, the goal really is to find interest, to fact find, and to educate. So
mhm,
in the first call, I usually see if they're interested, first of all, because you got to find out if they want to buy. If they do want to buy, then we'll go through maybe their particular situation, income, current insurance, etc. And then we will go through what Medicare is and what their options are for Medicare and what kind of coverage they want. Because I don't care what they buy, that my job is to just help them buy it. And
mhm.
then once we've determined that, I'll get the numbers together for them. And then usually in a follow-up call, we will actually close. We will do the sale, submit the application, and from then on out, it's just keeping in touch and making sure they're happy.
There's a point in the beginning of the call where
Mhm.
people lose. Most agents will lose the sale, lose the call. They'll get basically hung up on.
Mhm.
You tell me about that 5-10 seconds there, 20 seconds. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So like the first 10 seconds, I think they say 7, whatever it is, if you don't establish trust, you won't get that person. So the very first thing I say to people, is, hey, this is my name. I'm here locally in Texas. This is what I do. I'd just like to know if you need any assistance with this, or if you have any questions I can answer, I would love to help you. And all you're doing is breaking the ice. If you can't break the ice, you don't have a client.
Hmm. And those that, so you're getting the people that want to talk to you. You're not trying to force somebody that doesn't want to talk to talk.
No, I tried that. Cold calling is very hard,
Hmm.
very hard. This is much better. Warm leads are so much easier to work. You know that.
Yes. So you're getting the leads from the telemarketers, and you're kind of and I don't know, because Tim runs that telemarketing stuff more so than I do. Do you have just one telemarketer now?
I have one girl calling for me full time.
Okay. Uh, and so you get them through this process. You have a nice, basically asking them, you're telling them, hey, I'm a professional in your area, and I would like to help you with your Medicare. Do you have any questions or concerns? And do you need help in some way, shape, or form? Correct.
Exactly.
So I don't think it really matters exactly how you say it, but that you have that a good, strong presentation there. What would you say? Like, if it was, does it have to be certain exact words, or?
No, 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 no. People who get hung up on that, I understand your thought process, but you are killing yourself. It doesn't matter exactly what you say. It really doesn't even matter if you trip over your words a little bit. It's all about intent. If you can communicate your intent to that person, then they're going to trust you.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Do you ever see that Jordan Belfort guy, the Wolf of Wall Street, his
Oh, yeah.
training videos?
Hmm.
He stumbles all over himself.
Yeah, he's a horrible presenter.
He's a horrible presenter. People need to understand that. You don't need to be smooth. Joe, you're pretty smooth.
Eh.
Hey, you have a good delivery. So I wouldn't call it smooth, like, that smooth thing, although you do have that to a degree, but it's just very deliberate, very pleasant, very confident. And
Right.
I think, but now you look at somebody like Jordan Belfort, he's stumbling all over himself. I do the same thing. It's like, I kind of a more model him than I would model you. And it's fine. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. And people get all worried about how they sound and what they're, are the words coming out right? Stuff like
Yeah.
that. But what do you think if you were to give advice to somebody on that specific topic, on just being okay with how you sound? What would you say there? I don't know if I'm giving you an awkward question, but
No, you're fine.
okay,
I
good.
would say that you're worrying about the small things and not worrying about the focus, because you're there to do a job. You're there to help that person. And if they understand that that's your purpose for being there, you're going to be fine. People are so much more forgiving than we give them credit for when they trust us.
Hmm.
Now, if you can't communicate that trust, then yeah, you're going to have a problem. But you could be the smoothest talker in the world, and you'd still have that exact same problem.
I would say people want to help you if they can.
Of course,
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
so man, that's so big, isn't it?
I think it's the biggest thing, really.
Oh, man, it's so big, and it's great having this conversation with you because I really appreciate your what you're saying. I mean, you're so spot on,
Mhm.
and it's so helpful to people if they were to listen to this and apply it. Um,
Right.
it really is. And as you said before, there's not enough agents. So it's like you're kind of sort of giving it away a bit, and that's what I've always done, is giving it away. And it comes back to reward you, of course, but there's more than enough business to go around.
Oh yeah, I don't believe in the culture of keeping secrets. Uh, if we all build each other up, I'm sure you've heard the phrase, the rising tide raises all ships, right?
Yep.
If
Yes.
we all build each other up, we'll be better off because we'll be more polished, we will perform better, and we'll do a better service for our
Yes.
clients.
There are companies that they build their business. I'm not going to name companies, but people will know they build their business by bashing other companies. Like,
Yes.
it might be something like buy term insurance and invest in difference because those whole life companies are ripping you off. Basically, you're condemning your own industry.
Right.
It's just kind of silly. And believe me, they're no saints.
Oh, I love that example you just gave, Nick. That's such a poor disservice to tell somebody that,
Yes,
especially when somebody might make 30% with their whole life insurance, over the course of their lifetime.
I know.
I mean,
Listen, in
uh,
2000, in
30 is better than
2000,
12, right?
I'm sorry.
30 is better than 12, right?
Yes, in 2000, absolutely. In 2000, like 10 or 11 there, I talked to this guy who owned a mortgage company. He said his best performing asset over the last decade was a whole life insurance policy. Now, keep in mind, we went through a stock market crash and everything, but he said the asset that outperformed everything else was this whole life policy with the dividends and the interest on the dividends. And then also the fact that he could extract that money on a tax-free basis up to his cost basis. So, and you know some about this, I would imagine.
Oh, I do. And the truth is, if you actually show someone the potential of one of those policies, I mean, by no means am I going to give investment advice. I'm not licensed for that, but these policies perform very well.
Yeah, and they have that interest, the IUL, Indexed Universal Life.
Right.
So, yeah, and we're off on a tangent there, but it's important for people to know, hey, you're in a great business. You're in a life-changing business for individuals that potentially would buy from you. And now when we stick to Medicare, it's different, but still you make a difference to people, and that shouldn't be ignored. Okay. So now we've got to close them. Let's use Medicare Advantage. Okay. You've gotten to the point where you've had a nice warm intro. You're on your second call. You've gone through it. What's the close process look like with you, Joey?
So let's go with Medicare Advantage. I will tell you, Nick, that when I sell Medicare Advantage, I put the word optional beside the hospital indemnity policy, but it's on the piece of paper. So as I'm explaining it to them, I'm saying, okay, this is your hospital copay, and this is what your optional secondary policy is going to reimburse you. So I'm what's the word for it? I just assume that they're going to close, right? I'm an assumptive closer. And I will go through the benefits with them. And then I will say, okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to set you up today, and it'll be effective on, May 1st, whatever it is. Does that sound good to you? I've never found it hard. If you find it hard, then they're not going to buy. And that means you need to get better at your process so that you can identify in the beginning of the conversation that this person was not going to buy from you.
And now if they're not going to buy, and you can pick up that they're not going to buy the Medicare product, what do you do then? Okay, so you've been going down this, you have a line of questioning that leads to they are not a prospect for Medicare. Now what?
So in that situation, if I've done my job with fact finding, I know what other products that I was prepared to offer them after the Medicare sale. I will immediately pivot, because that's probably your last opportunity to grab that person if you walk away. So if I know that, hey, I see that you have this problem. How about we talk about life insurance today? That way we still get something productive done. Then we pivot. And sometimes, sometimes maybe they can't get Medicare yet, and I'll just put them on an ACA plan. All I'm there to do is help them.
Do you how many of these final expense policies, which is kind of sort of where when you sell the life, it's more final expense than anything else, I would imagine. How many do you get in a week or month?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm just starting out with final expense, so I'd say the number would be in a month, probably 4 to 5.
Man, that's all you need. That's all you need. And you're not a final expense agent. You don't really want to be.
Right.
Because, so, hey, let me ask you a question, Joey. How do you weed out the quality sales? Because you could probably make a sale that won't stick.
Oh yeah, I've done that before. So I think one thing that really helps with quality is cross-selling. Nick, the more policies that you put somebody with, the less likely they are to leave you. And I've really developed a system to where, in the beginning, if we talk about last year, it was kind of 1 to 2 apps per person max. And now it's more like 3 to 5. So building up opportunity, looking for other things you can help them with, I think inherently also raises whatever that number is you would call where they stick to you and they don't leave you.
Joe, you have such a good attitude and you're such a good mindset to this. I'm really impressed. You really do.
Thank you.
So it's very refreshing, very refreshing. And so I respect that. I just let you know that. Let's talk about, let's see, we've gone all the way through the close. Now let's talk about this annuity thing. Where would you get that information? Okay, to the agents that are listening, if you could pick up an annuity every now and then, and you say you're on the verge of going down that road now, Joey, correct?
Yes.
Where are you? Okay, let me finish what I was saying. If you can pick up one of these a quarter, just one a quarter, and let's say it's $100,000, that's $6,500 on average-ish, okay? Because they're typically around 6.5% interest. I mean, 6.5% commission on those products. So they could be 7 or 6 or whatever. And if you go to shorter terms, that's on an indexed annuity. But so this is a big deal for you as the agent to be cognizant that you can make these sales. But Joey, where in the process do you get a snippet of information that leads to the annuity sale?
Well, it's very simple. When you're dealing with somebody who's applying for Medicare, you should see if they qualify for extra help on their prescription drugs. And one of the questions on that application is, do you have any assets over $29,000? Or, if they're single half, right there, boom,
Yeah.
you have your information.
You've already said this once, so I'm asking you to repeat yourself, aren't I?
That's all right.
Yes, that's it. That's it. It's like if you have more than, so are you over 29,000 or under?
And even if they're under, it's aside from their house and their car, so it still could just be a savings account. That's still an opportunity.
Yeah. Yes. The important thing, Joey, my advice to you is make sure that you get with somebody that will put the deal together with you and you don't bog down on that.
Right.
Let somebody else teach you that, because what will happen is if you get one that's like a hot sale, it's like say $150,000, hey, and walk away with 10 grand, right? So,
right.
So what happens, agents, and this always happens, they start making phone calls to all these companies trying, with the indexes and they want to know the spreads and they want to know the payout factors. They want to know everything, and they'll spend 2 days doing that, and or more. And it breaks up their day, and it takes them off the task at hand. So there are people there are agencies, and you need to work with an agency that will put it together for you. Then they'll tell you what they did, why they did it, and then you could go back and present what they told you to present. And then you don't have to beat your head against the wall, and you will have learned a lot more because you've dealt with a professional who gave you good advice instead of going it alone. Now, also, I'll qualify that by saying these people will not ask for any of the commission. They won't take any of the commission from you. So there ain't nothing wrong with that,
No.
So that's just my advice for any agent that is going to go down that road. Don't do it by yourself, because you will bog down. Make sure you're properly licensed as well. So, because that happens. Some states are like, you might need a 4-hour annuity course or something like that. So you get to the 11th hour, and then you find out, oh, I can't write it because I'm not properly licensed. So there's that. Joey, again, very refreshing talking to you about this. And what advice from a big picture perspective, what advice do you have? Because I think we've covered things fairly well. Do you agree?
I think we've done good. Yeah.
Yeah. From a big picture perspective, what would you say to people to give them, encouragement or advice to be successful?
Well, I'd say if you're an insurance agent, don't limit yourself to one product. That's a huge thing right there for your income, especially in the first 1 to 2 years. And then don't quit. The problem is people quit.
Yes.
And there are quitters in every industry. But in this industry, you can't even begin to be successful if you quit. So you just have to keep going, no matter what. Even if you have to work that part-time job while you're doing it, just keep going and keep writing applications, because eventually it will compound into a very comfortable living.
And you've done this. You've worked that job, and and insurance was your part-time job.
I have, yes.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
very hard, but
All
it's
right.
worth it.
Listen, that's great. I think we can wrap it up right there. How's that sound to you, Joey?
That sounds good, Nick.